Hello. So I've got some time and I'm in a beautiful space and I haven't done my post running stretches, so I thought I'd record them and share them with you. I like to do the fire log pose, stacking the shins. And if this doesn't work for you, the knees popping way up, I think it'd be just as good to take crisscross applesauce. And we'll start with right leg on the top. And this helps me get into my hips. My hips get really tight if I run too much. So I left that running alone for a long time. You're welcome to come down, forward if the hips can handle that. But I found that with the pressure cooker that is COVID, running is a big anxiety relief for me. So it really feels good to pound it out on the pavement a couple times a week. And I can do that if I take really good care of my hips. Outer, and I like to do some strengthening of the inner thighs, which don't get worked very often, sort of balance, keep the hips stable. And I've also noticed that I get really tight in my side body, in my psoas. And a lot of twisting and side body stretches help with that. So I'm gonna take my arms over to the left. And I don't know if the screen is mirrored or not. And I try to eke down and just take it as far as you can go. I'm working with my body because that's the one I was given. You work with yours. I sort of ease into it, really stretching down in the side. And as always, practicing outside. You get lots of critters on the mat. And then come up. Switch the cross of the legs. Now again, this is my post-running practice. Any of this doesn't work for you, don't do it. It hurts the knees. And see how I'm keeping my feet really flexed to protect the knees? If you're feeling any knee pain, back away. And if you're taking the stretch, like the effort of it or the big feeling of the pose, and you're holding that big feeling in the jaw, or the face, or the neck, try to let that big feeling go. See if it's possible to be with the big feeling. Like the duck. I've seen a lot of the duck metaphor lately, right? They look like they're gliding so clearly on the top of the water, but they're going crazy underneath. And I'm taking my body over the right side. And I'm almost fitting my tricep right into my foot. And this is my tight side. This is the side that about mile 2, and we go 3. I can feel these muscles really start to grab onto the hip. Keep pulling the breath down into the belly despite the deep twist. And then the second pose that I do after a run, again, I finished my run earlier, but there was too much to do, is runner's lunge, right? Like this. You can stay here. I can best get into my hip by dropping this back leg. And I just learned this move through a teacher at Pranam. I can't remember who, but I like practicing with Pranam online. Pranam Yoga Shala. But this really gets into my left hip flexor, which is also the really tight one. And sometimes I crawl up. Again, this is an option, this heel lift. And if I reach my right knee forward, my left arm over, I can really get into that psoas and side body. And I'm breathing into it. Too much, again, back away. And we're gonna bring then left hand down, lift back knee, all 10 toes to the right, and I'm gonna get into the outside of the hip a little more. And I'm gonna get lazy. I'm gonna let the shoulder pop up to my ear, and just letting that happen really opens up these muscles that are so taut right here. And because I do a lot of yoga, do a lot of sun salutations, my hamstrings aren't very tight, so I don't really even worry about them too much after a run. Although I know tight hamstrings are a big deal for a lot of people. I won't do too much hamstring here today. Just that can come with down dog. I'll take right hand to the inside of left knee and lift up, getting into the outside of my right hip. And I even can straighten my front leg a little bit. I'll do this a couple times. One more. Then I'm coming up on these back toes, and I'm going to step back to my dog. Come forward to the plank. Let my heels drop to the left. Lift my right arm. Plant this right foot and bring my left knee up. Now I can feel my right inner thigh, which were really weak after I had one kid. They got weaker with the second. And with the third, it was all I could do to bring one leg to meet the other in a wide leg stance. And I do this, it's not so much what's happening with this leg on the inner thigh, it's my standing leg. And I do this, I don't know, I'm not counting right now, 10 times or so. And back. And I work one heel and then the other down toward the ground. I've also noticed as I've aged that my ankles and my calves give me a lot more trouble than they used to. And then step left foot forward into runner's lunge. And again, you can stay here if there's lots of juiciness happening. Stay here and drop the head. For me, I lift the front heel and climb up. Take this right hand up to the sky, and sometimes left hand to hip, or left hand to block, or the earth. Sending deep breaths down into those muscles that are really being asked to stretch. And then bring this right hand forward, lift left knee, turn all the toes to the left, let the hips sink, let the shoulders get lazy. On this side I feel a lot less. But I can feel a deep stretch here on my right side, but not as intensely as the opposite side. So I don't stay where I'm not feeling quite as much. I'll lift 3 times, almost coming to straight with my left leg, just because my hamstrings are really open. It'll be different for everybody. 2 and 3, turn the toes forward, step back to the down dog, adjust as needed. Stretch the calves, maybe pedal out the feet. And then opposite side, coming forward to plank, dropping the heels, lifting left arm. I plant that left foot, bring the right knee into my chest, and then I can extend or keep the leg bent and lift approximately 10 times. And I started with, I think, like 3, because my inner thighs were so weak. And maybe that's 10. And I like to work on core as well. So come down, and I'll play with lifting my heart, lifting my hands, lifting the legs, taking sort of a Superman pose, Superwoman. And then for good old distraction or playfulness, lift one leg at a time, or the arms. If my shoulders aren't too tight, I might really turn into Superman and rock side to side and come back. Do child's pose. And then I like to swing the legs around, get a little bit lower on my, get the stretch a little bit lower on my quad, pulling back with the right foot, and then sometimes even lifting to get where I need into that quad muscle, because these quad muscles, you know, attach to some of my sore spots in my hip. And down, switching. I feel this stretch all the way down my left thigh, both sides of the knee. And see, I'm rocking to get different sensations into the front of my quad. And again, this is for my body, and it took me a long time to figure out how deep I needed to go in these stretches, how often I needed to do them, how often I could run and stay healthy. When I started back up, I started running on a trail with mile markers, so I could do 0.1, walk 1, 0.1, walk 1, 0.1, walk 1, and I gradually moved it up to 0.2, 0.3. Otherwise, my hips got too grippy. The final thing I really like for core is this sitting. Just sitting up, heart reaching to sky, maybe arms reaching to sky. Sometimes it's too much, and I can feel this grabbing, and I'm like, is it counter beneficial? And I'll turn to one side and open those arms and maybe stay for a while, really reaching the hands away from each other, working side body to make it strong and stretched. Lift up, turn to the other side, open the arms, and we'll really reach. And I'll go back and forth. I'm listening to music. I might attempt to do this work for a very short song. And then lots of times, lastly, I've run, gotten all my energy out. I've stretched so I can feel safe, knowing I can keep this running practice going. And then it's time for a nice sit. And you're welcome to pause the video or sit with me here for it'll just be a minute or two. Noticing. Breathing. Your attention is in the head, which it probably is. That's where we're trained to keep it. Let that attention and that awareness drop into heart. It takes you by surprise to be in the heart space. It's scratchy, or it's easy, or it's creaky or achy. You sit with it. Not with a gritted teeth or a tight jaw, but like holding it. Holding the heart, the tension with care. Perhaps with your attention and your care, it will soften. Perhaps not. If it's one of the first few times you've checked in with your heart, it might get really shy and tense and lock up. And if that's the case, you can let it go and come back again. Slowly win over. the heart's attention. And if you'd like to drop your attention from heart down lower, we can take it into belly. What's it like in there? And then take that attention even lower, feeling where the seat touches the earth, feeling into pelvic floor. And you might imagine roots growing out of your tail down into the earth, securing you, anchoring you. And then bring that energy from the earth up, up, up into the body, up the spine. Pull it up the spine, behind the heart, higher up through the neck, and out the crown of the head. Noticing self. This body is a conduit between sky energy, earth energy. Energy you create, your heart creates, your soul creates, whatever it is that keeps the heart beating and the breath moving. As you're ready, blink open the eyes. If you could stay here all day or a little bit longer, please do. Thanks for practicing with me.